Welcome to Spark Awakens, a soul centered series designed to guide you from pain to purpose, healing to empowerment. I'm your host, Judy Michaud, and I'm thrilled to share this sacred space with you. Whether you're at a breaking point, rebuilding your life, or quietly feeling like there's more, this 8-part series is for you. Today's episode is the wake up call when life forces you to change. And let's begin. I'm so excited to be here with you and with Urszula Kur. She's our guest speaker for this 8-part series, and you're going to find her fascinating. She has such a story to tell. She started out in life with wonderful parents and who guided her in so many different ways. She became a textile engineer. And she designed shoes and clothing and different things like that. Then she moved on to becoming an author, and she wrote 3 books. She wrote this book here called Spirituality Not for Sale. And I read that book in 4 nights. I couldn't put it down. I found it so fascinating, the things that I'd never heard before and concepts that I've never heard. But it's story after story after story of the adventure that she's had in her life. And she has had an adventure, I can tell you. And you'll hear about that. She also is a master clinical hypnotherapist. And she was born with ESP, extrasensory perception. She has such a left-right brain mind that she comes from 2 worlds, really. Like, she comes from the space of, I need to know all the numbers, I need to know all the detail, I need to know all of the things and how to put it together. And then she comes from this whole other space of soul and spirit and understanding and things that none of us or most of us have never even really encountered. And when I met her, I just couldn't stop listening to the things that she was saying, because she's a fascinating person to listen to. So with that, I want to introduce you to Urszula. And Urszula, why don't you tell us your story? Where did you come from? What does that look like? And your adventures that you've had.
Well, I came from Poland. I was born in Poland. In 1986, I came to Canada, searching for freedom. There are little things that I might change right now, but anyways, I was born with this gift that for most of my life I consider a curse, because, well, it was showing me things that I was not ready to see, especially when I was a little child, and including visitations, shadow people, even demonic. Uh, I've seen it at the age of 14, I believe. But as I was trying to shake it off, it wasn't going anywhere. I was actually finally coming to the conclusion that I came here to share what I know, or what is downloaded, because that's what I think this is all what we know, and we all will know that. And that's why we are here, to help everyone who is seeking, who is asking questions, how to get there with maybe less pain, maybe with less struggle, and with the guidance. I needed guidance, and unfortunately, I haven't had one. So for me, it was growing on my own and trying to figure it out. I going through out of body experience, near death experience through my car accident. That,
Maybe explain your car accident, what happened there.
well, I never do so-called spreads of cards for myself, but that evening, and I was supposed to go and take my son down 500 kilometers into the mountains where my parents lived, so I could finish my semester easier and work on study.
And you were
I went downstairs.
becoming an engineer at that point.
Yes.
Okay.
I went downstairs. I was looking for mail that was always stored at the reception. And I went 3 times through the pile of letters, and I didn't see one from my parents, or from my mama, actually. And it was there. And it was a God protecting my son. Because if my son was with me in that car, he would have not made it. and he's now 45. And so I spread my cards, and I just to see. I was done with my major exams, and out of 4 crosses, only one was upside down, and that scared. I could feel the coldness coming, and my hair rising, and I just pulled the deck together, and I pretended I didn't see it. Well, only one cross kept me from actually departing. And so as I got into the car, I had a leather jacket. At the time, I was very fit, very athletic. And I was sitting on the backside behind the passenger in a BMW. I knew the owner of the car, but he was not the one driving because he was still looking to complete his driving license in Poland. And I tried to take and buckle the belt, and I couldn't pull it. And the voice inside my head says, leave it. So I let it go. And then I tried to take my leather coat, but it was too tight to actually pull it, my arms out of the sleeves. And the voice again told me, leave it. And basically, when the car went out of the curve, wrap around the tree, the place where I was sitting did not exist. Because I was fit, because I had leather, which has a certain type of flexibility, quite big one actually. And I did not wear my seatbelt. That's what saved my life. So I know that I was out. I could hear distant voices when people were coming to rescue, and help us. I was actually viewing myself from in the car from the top. I was looking down, and I could see people trying to open the door, and the door was wet, so they couldn't. Finally, they managed to open the door, and they moved my body because it was the body. I was not in it. I was looking down, and I saw that 4 men trying to gently put me on a grass, on unfortunate kind of slant. And when I went back to my body, the pain was excruciating. But I saw a woman who I can describe with details, looking through my purse and stealing a little package of coffee that I had for my mom and a pair of leather gloves. And I remember talking to myself. I said, how is it that these men are trying to save my life, and this woman is using this the most unfortunate circumstance to steal from me? But then I was thinking, actually, it feels good. I feel like nothing constricts me. And then the voice told me, and what about your son? My son was just a 2-year-old little kid. And then my thought says, if I give up, if I go, he will be an orphan, because it was his father was never interested in raising him or taking any type of responsibility. And I was with the whoosh pushed back into my body, and I will never forget the pain. And that's when I became aware of the sirens and ambulances and stuff. And then when ambulance arrived, I was the one first taken because my injuries were the most severe. So they drove me to hospital, and I remember laying down when the hospital, like ambulance would break the speed. I wanted to be dead. The pain was absolutely horrific. So I came to hospital. They couldn't even x-ray. There was nothing showing. It was all swelling. So I had a compression fracture of my ninth vertebra, which is right where the love chakra is, right there. And the upper part of the outside part was also cracked. And 2 days later, they kicked me out of hospital. I had a bad luck with medicine way back then. And so I walked for 8 months with fractured spine, with pain that I will never forget. And eventually I ended up with a full body cast that I was wearing for a year. And I'm here. And I am 66. I don't hide my age. And I'm in a better shape now than I was through most of my life. I started entering into this life with a hiccup, I would say, or call it vaccine. I got my TB vaccine at 2 weeks of age, and I almost died. I was sick nonstop for 6 months, pneumonias, and going back and forth on both sides, one side. And my mom told me later on that she thought I was so-called a goner. Well, I survived that, but for 46 years, I suffered from allergies, asthma. Then, with time, at 26, I found out that I was born a bit, I don't know, somebody told me richer than average, that I have a duplicated urinary system on the left side. So I have 2 kidneys and one on the right. So I have 3 kidneys. And I was asked if I was willing to let the kidneys out. I said no. The only time I would give the kidney would be to my children or to my spouse if they needed it. But anyways, I have now very different approach to all different DNA things and
Healing.
transplants and healing.
And looking at it from a whole different perspective.
So
Yeah.
when I found out I was 26 when I had 3 kidneys and I just left hospital and I felt like I was a mutant, like the God really pulled a big joke on me. And I felt sorry for myself, of course, because I thought the word mutant was right on my forehead. So I would go and lower my head. No, it's the truth. That's how it was. And one night when I felt so sorry for myself, the same voice that I heard so many times, always in my life, it's my guide, says you need extra filtration system because you absorb so much from people that you work with that it would poison you, it would kill you. And that's when I actually started to be looking very differently at so many things. I was told that my heart stopped growing at 14, so I have a heart of 14-year-old with some WPW syndrome. And now I know that it wasn't something I was born with because I don't believe we are born with any genetic problems. It was my TB vaccine that actually damaged my heart. And they discovered that here in Canada at the age of 28. And sometimes you turn to a good doctor that was a specialist in Calgary who said, this is what it is. We don't know where it came from. We know that you can live to be 100 or you can die tomorrow. I said, well, that's uplifting. And he says, there are drugs, but I don't want you. I don't want to give you the drugs. Why? Because they have so many bad side effects. And you're going to have a child. I said, no, I have a son. I'm not planning to have more children. Well, he said, you're going to have a child. And now I understand that the man must have seen what at the time I didn't. And so I didn't get. He said, you just have to learn to control your stress. And I think stress is our biggest enemy.
Especially now, isn't it? Like now the
Yeah.
stress is harsh.
Yeah.
It's from when I was born and to now, this is really becoming a very
Yeah.
intense time.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
so let's talk a little bit about, okay, so you went back to school and you did finish your engineering. You did, get
Yeah.
that degree. You went into textile engineering, which is
Yes. I am
making clothes.
making clothes and yarns and production of knits and all the technology, machines and everything. So we had on average 48 hours in a week in my university time. There was no choice of courses that I could or could not take. I had to take certain amount. And if I was sick, for example, and there was a lab or any other lecture that I had to go, I had to do it in some extra time.
And this was all while you were still healing and going through this healing process.
And I had a 2-year-old.
And you were bringing up a child.
And I was painting and I was writing.
Right.
Well, with the writing, I didn't start writing here. I started to write when I was 11 years old, back in my language, my Polish language. And it was because I had such vivid dreams. watching the movies. And most of those dreams were from native places, from teepees, from plains. And so that's why, since I was a child, I was so bent backwards to come back home. This is how I understood. And I wanted to be in Indian country. So I started to write because these dreams were so potent that I was afraid I can forget them. And I wrote actually two long books, one 1,500 pages in Polish language that disappeared mysteriously, and it broke my heart.
Mm.
But in here, I started to write in 1987, and I came to in 86 with zero language. I mean, I spoke French, but French. I was always drawn to sound of English language. That's another funny thing, that I had those passions and I couldn't figure them out. So I would make moccasins for myself from like a vinyl, because we didn't have a hides or things like that. I didn't have access to them. And I would make necklaces, and I would always wanted to be a chief. When I would play as kids, cowboys and Indians, I was always an Indian. I was never a cow. I hated cowboys. so and I was always the man, the chief. And so right now I understand what it was, because my past life flashbacks were so powerful that actually I lived them, I tasted them, I could know the details of something that I couldn't find in any book in Poland, even if they were books, but they were not. I did not know. So my first sweat lodge in Clarisholm in southern Alberta, it was the most aha moment in my life. I had visions so vivid that I didn't even know the 5 hours passed with the heat and darkness and all that. I was not even there. It's fascinating. And so that's when I flew to Calgary. It was a beautiful day, 7th of May in 86. I remember getting out of the plane and feeling, oh my God, I came back home. It was the feeling that I was able to unleash my heart, my soul. It's right now. I still trying to figure out and put it together. What is happening
Right now and all the things that are taking place. But let's go to okay, so you had the shoe company, you ran that, you were a business person, like looking at it from the business world and your
Yes.
mind.
Yep.
So let's now talk about this right brain, left brain, because the uniqueness that you have is you see the world from math and science and the whole that end of things, putting, making your own material is a scientific thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
I mean, I've bought clothes, I've sewn clothes, but I don't know how to make the material. And so that in itself is a whole gift. But then you were all along from birth, had this extrasensory perception.
Yep.
And so you've been called a psychic, a medium, a channeler, all of these things throughout your life. And you've worked with people, which is what the Spirituality Not for Sale book is all about.
That's right.
It really shows all the different types of people you've worked with over the years. So you have people who send you clients that come to you to get help.
Yep.
In that end of things. And you combine that with hypnotherapy. And so that's that whole other, it's like two worlds coming together in my mind. It's like bringing your left brain and your right brain together. Talk about that. Like what's
Okay.
the whole experience.
I will tell you of the fight between those when I started to realize that I could fix things and that I had engineering skills of my dad, actually, and poetic and need to write, and from my mom, because she could usually, when she wanted to tell us no, that she didn't want to give us something, she would say it in poems, so we couldn't be mad. She had incredible creative mind. So when I was, sometimes I felt like I am a woman in pants or a man in skirt. So it was, fighting within. But yet I found that it was absolutely incredible to be able to fix something in my home and then understand why I feel about some place or somebody, what I feel, and be able to convey that message. And on many occasions, I saved their lives. I mean, it wasn't me, but the message that came through me actually helped to save their lives.
So let's back up just a bit, because you've told me before that you found this to be a curse in some cases, because you've got so many messages. It's like, enough already. I can't do this. Like, what am I supposed? And you tried to shut it off.
Yes, and I beg and I pray and I ask Creator God, please take this. I don't, because what was most dominant was that I could tap into darkness of someone's mind or thoughts. I could actually hearing them speak before they did, and it wasn't a nice place to go. So at some point, even it was here, and that's how I tell you how scary it is. There was a little girl that disappeared in Vancouver, main area. She was 6 years old, but I didn't watch the news, so I wasn't aware. But what I saw, it was this vision that there is a man, and I was within one and the other, because in order for you to understand the victim or the oppressor, you have to go into both energy fields. And I could feel the man's hand squeezing the little girl's hand, and she's scared. She knows the man, and she's looking, and I see the woods, and he's dragging her there, but she's too scared to even make a noise. Well, the girl later on was found in those woods, and he raped her and murdered her, and it was a neighbor. So I knew she recognized the face, and that scared me, because I simultaneously enter in both. And so when my husband, he's always excited about stuff, he says, you should be working with police. I said, Michael, in order for me to work with the police, I will go to the darkest places that you cannot even imagine. And I don't want to do that. So often we would travel to historic places. He said, do you see any ghosts? I said, leave me alone. I don't want to see ghosts. If ghosts will find me, I don't have to look for them. So when people were asking me, why don't you do this ghost hunting and stuff? I said, are you out of your rocker? People don't realize how dangerous things are when they go into those abandoned places, or especially the ones that had some satanic background, how dangerous gates they can open that they cannot close. And so and I have worked with a little girl that was playing a Ouija board. And she didn't speak for 3 months. She was in absolutely dark room. And so I've seen the darkness. And so I know that we all need to be aware it exists. So that gives us the chance to build the defense, the protection.
But you did find your lane, right? Like,
yes.
You found your way.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about how did you go from, okay, I don't want to do this. This is what I want to do. I don't want to work with the police. I don't want to. What made you decide to change and start taking on the clients that you took on? Because your book is fascinating. It's got lots of different stories in it, and not stories, but things that you actually went through with your clients. Yeah. And then how do you work with this? And like, you talked about your mom and your dad. Let's go back there for a minute. You got the gifts from your mom and your dad. Did you always think that everything that they gave you was perfect and your whole world was perfect?
No.
No, because you said you came from a normal family.
Yeah,
but
relatively normal.
Relatively normal. Like, we all come from relatively normal families. Well, some of us a little bit harder than others. But she told me about stories about her mom and dad, but I think let's start there, because that is such a huge piece of our whole life, is that whole beginning. So we'll start with, when we have our parents, how do we know that they're going to be our parents? Like, what does that, like, what is your take on that?
Well, my take on through work with people and through the knowing, through experience that I had with clients, and through my own knowing, is that as a soul, as the actual what and who we are, gets like a contract. And say, okay, I need this, and these lessons.
Before you come here.
Yes. So we have a soul contract. So we need to look of what we need to learn and what aspects we need to have in that gateway to have these lessons delivered. So I guess we all should take full responsibility, whether it's a good mama and good daddy or not. We needed certain lessons. Sometimes we needed perhaps to even out the karmic balance. I'm not saying karmic punishment, because I believe our rebirth is for learning, is not for being punished or rewarded, even though in some ways one can see it this way. So I chose both of my parents. I needed them for different parts. I guess my dad was the analytic part of my mind. My mother was the creative part. I guess I put them together pretty good.
Yes, and you were fortunate. But then there's some of us and some viewers who have had a struggle with their parents, and they
But I
with that whole thing.
explain you.
Okay.
My dad, that doer, the engineering part, he was also a military man. So there was no for him. There was this way or that way, or kids have to hide in a corner. So this is what I would learn to find my voice, even if it cost me to be belted or whatever else was there. Usually I had to watch my brother being punished. My brother was 2 years older, and because they were so much alike, they were always in conflict. And I was a watcher, I guess. So when my dad, he was the one that would cut my hair short, calling me Jackie, like, little boy, Jacek. And I hated it. When I would sit, and of course he forced me, there would be one day, you will not touch my hair. I never realized how important my hair was. Maybe he didn't have much, so he didn't care. He wanted me to look like him. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But what happened is at 14, that was the day I said, you will never touch my hair. So keep those scissors, just cut whatever. And that's exactly when he cut my hair the last time, and my hair just grew. Like, people were wondering how my hair can grow so fast and so long and so bushy, I guess. But there were times when I would consider my mom, and she would fight back. She would stand up, and there were arguments, and my dad sometimes would go and have drinks with his buddies from after work. And it was always expectation he's going to come and look for what we've done wrong. So it's not like we had this perfect, but
Oh, you didn't have it all perfect all the time. Okay, good.
no.
I feel better.
So, um, so I would be creative enough to know, okay, I know what he's gonna focus on, so I better do this. So it was a homework or anything. So I was always a good girl, you see, when I was using my creative part in a humorous way. But also my escape was into my drawings and my paintings and my art.
But I
I
guess the whole point is around parents. The whole point around parents is we choose them.
Yes, yes,
And we choose to learn from that lesson,
yeah,
whatever that is, be it painful or wonderful, whatever that is, they're there to kind of take us to a certain place in life.
that's
And
right.
it's our duty
Yeah,
to take us further.
that's right.
That's that whole responsibility, the accountability,
Yeah,
like we're all humans being human
yeah,
together. And,
absolutely.
we look at our parents as they should be superhuman. They should be something that, we're shooting as children. We should on our parents and
Yeah,
say, you should do this. You should have done this. You should have done this. But there comes a time when it's like, okay, what do we do then?
yeah,
Like, how do we heal from that possible trauma that we had or whatever we
yeah.
think how do we start healing from some of that?
Well,
Because that's kind of where a lot of people may get stuck, is right there in that childhood trauma. And it usually is, from what I understand, it usually is from 0 to 7 to 9 years old when that childhood trauma takes place.
Yeah.
And then we have to find a way to heal through it. And we don't usually start doing that until we're in our 30s because we're too busy, bucking the system with our parents.
Well, I say that, and often when I have clients, they don't come because they are happy and flying high. They come because they're broken. And so I am actually able to show them that what they think is broken is actually what propels them to go on. So something, you started a business, for example, and everything goes sideways, and we take it as, oh, our ego is hurt, and say, oh my gosh, I fail. My dad told me I fail in everything. It's called programming. That's the most dangerous part that we have from our childhood.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Where does the programming come from? Is it our mind and our ego? Is that what's going on? Or
Yes.
so tell us the difference here between our mind and our ego and our soul and our spirit. If you could just, from your perspective, what is the difference between, and what are the roles that they take for us? Like, why do we have four things that drive us crazy?
Well, because we are coded with four.
Okay.
There is four seasons, four winds blowing from four directions. We have four elements, and each element is attached to other part of us. So we have our earth, which is your bones, your structure. We have our water, which is your emotions and feelings. Then we have our fire. This is our mind. It's understanding and embracing. It's our pineal gland, it's our third eye. And then we have air, which is our spirit connection to all there is. So we are actually programmed with a code of four.
And where does the soul fit in there?
Soul is connected to a spirit. It's an astral body. So what happens when we die and we do not realize we died or transited to another dimensional existence? The consciousness remains stuck. So somebody dies violently in accident, but it's so fast that the consciousness is not embracing the transformation and transition. And then that individual, the soul, then is captured because gate opening to pass is very short, about, I believe, 10 minutes from what I have learned through the process of my work. And then it closes. It's a portal. So if you didn't cross to the portal, there is no more tear and then no more so-called light, the tunnel. So that soul is standing there on a side where the accident happens and is wondering why nobody sees me, why nobody is responding. What am I doing here? That happened to my dad when he died. He crashed his skull and he died 24 hours later, but he didn't cross over. I had to help him understand the transition. He was standing, and I've seen it all in a remote viewing. I was here. He died back in Poland. I know exactly how it happened, when it was happening. And he was standing there watching the blood on the walls and corridor. It was in an apartment building when there was, police and prosecutor, because they didn't know, was he mugged? Did he fell? You don't know until you do certain basic investigation. So he never regained consciousness to embrace the transition. And so my mom, that did pass on to the proper higher vibration, was asking me why the stubborn donkey is not listening to her. So sometimes people don't understand that the dead cannot help the dead. And there are different highways for the dead too. There's highway here and highway here. So you are here, you are caught, you are here, you are ascended. So they can't feel. It's like blind and mute. And they can talk, but you don't hear. This is exactly what happens on this other side. People call it the other side. I don't know if that would be my, way to call it, but and then I had to connect with my dad's spirit and help him to understand what happened. And the funny part was about that accident, that as long as I remember, and we live in that building since I was 5 years old, I would have been 60 years. From the day one, the shortest staircase, my dad used to say, there should be a railing. There should be railing. Well, the railing was never installed. And that's the staircase he died on. So it's like he knew long way before. So he finally said, oh, so I'm not here anymore. I said, no, Dad. And Mom is waiting for you. And then that's when I saw him transiting to the same level as my mom was. And they visit me. My mom visits me in kitchen if I happen to have inspiration. And she would say, you see, daughter, you learn by observing. Those were her words when I didn't want to cook because I was writing my books or painting something or drawing something, pretending I'm studying.
Right.
My mom always knew, but she knew that I had such a drive to express artistically that she just pretended she didn't see it.
So we have the mind, which I sometimes call the silly mind, because it can get us in trouble. Like it's the one that the thoughts that we have on a daily basis in our head that run around and round and round in circles. And sometimes we're like a hamster on a wheel, chasing this over and over and over again. And really, the mind will go into the past.
But that mind is, propelled by what? By ego.
That's it. And that's the problem, isn't it? Because sometimes we spend most of our time, so many of us, in our mind and our ego.
Yeah.
And that's where we get stuck.
That's
in that
right.
mind and
That's
the
right.
ego. And so
because and mind and ego works through the most potent element that is the most destructive. It's called fear.
And the mind is the one that tells us about the fear.
Yeah.
Because it's meant to keep us safe. That's why it's there, right? It is meant to keep us safe.
Ego is there to help you in a moment of flight or fight.
Yeah. And the mind is there connected. So it's helping
to work
us
on it,
to make sure that we stay safe.
Yeah.
That common sense thing. Don't step out in front of a train. Don't step in front of a bus.
Yeah. Don't go into the water if you don't know how to swim.
Right. All of those things. So the mind and the ego are attached and they're there for the safety of us. So that we're not just doing unsafe things all the time, because that would be a little bit of a train wreck here on Earth. We already have that going on. We don't need any more.
They make sure.
Yeah. But let's say, so we understand the mind, we understand the ego, but the spirit and the soul are what we came for. Like you said, we had a soul contract.
Yeah.
We came here to do stuff. How do we learn those lessons? What are the best? It's a dichotomy, right?
I tell you, in that, even going back to my accident, there was a very quiet, very subtle feel in me and thought, you can go tomorrow. You can go on a train. Don't go. But
Your mind.
My ego mind would say, no, you grab the free ride, you will be faster there. It's very subtle, very, very small feel. But usually you feel it here. When you think with your heart, then you are actually going the right direction. When you think with your head, you're actually going to hit the wall. I've done that plenty of times. And often people say, well, out of all the people, you are the psychic, you should know better. I said, hey, that wall was my very important lesson. I needed that pain to actually see what the heck I'm doing.
And that's what I found in my life as the hardest times in my life that I just wished would have never happened. Sometimes now I look back and I think they were my biggest lessons.
That's right.
They were the hardest pain I've been through in my life taught me such deep, deep, deep lessons, how to love at a deeper level.
Yeah.
How to have more compassion, how to have more understanding, how to be more tapped into who I am. But I didn't learn them from everything going smoothly and walking down a wonderful road. It wasn't that way. It was give me this hard lesson. And then I have to find, I had to have major abuse go on and I had to find my voice to be able to get out of it,
Well, then you see how strong you are. When we don't have obstacles and hardships, we stop growing spiritually. Look at the societies when everything is going easy and we have money, or self kind of illusion of freedom and all that. What happens? We stop being friends to each other. We stop socializing. We stop being kind because we are so programmed on running after what they tell us is important than actually listening to what it is.
External.
And
It's the external.
that's right. And that's how they wanted our attention. The answers are not outside, they are inside.
And that's where we want to get to today, really. And that's
right.
that's the point I think that we're trying to
Yeah.
to make today, is that really we never have to go outside of ourselves for the answer.
That's
and
right.
we are powerful human beings, and we need to learn more to think critically,
Unleashed. Yes.
ask more questions, and that's your engineering mind, right? But ask more questions.
Or actually allow yourself to feel more. Sometimes the feeling is there and your head is saying, are you crazy? You need that paycheck. You can't give up your job because you don't have this security. That's a pseudo security.
Right.
And then, but your that gut saying, no, I just want to do it. Like even with my present husband of 34 years now, he was the first man in my life that this was telling me something and this was telling something separate. So the voice would say, are you crazy? You just got divorced. Stay away. He is not ready. He's crying over his wife. And the voice inside tells me, if the man can cry after a bad woman, he's a good man. And I said, after 3 weeks we've known each other, he says, if I ask you today to marry me, would you? And my answer, yeah, absolutely, I would. And that voice again coming, the ego, the mind. Are you crazy? You don't need more, trouble. And I just first time I felt and I followed the feeling. So when the mind and heart is in coherence and the mind says whatever the heart tells you, yes, there is a shape and your mind can actually follow this. So if you say, okay, I'm going to marry him, and your mind says, yeah, you can have a business together because he has common interest and he has a little girl and you have a little girl. My mind was helping behind the scene. I didn't realize at the time that, yeah, my mind was actually saying, yeah, that feeling.
It's still keeping you safe.
That's right.
But it's that whole voice inside that tells you, okay, this is when I need to shift. And right now in this world,
Are going
with the change, we're all going through change.
Yep.
All of us.
Yep.
Like this major shift in evolution.
Yep.
And we're feeling it. We're feeling that change that needs to happen within every one of us. But it's not external like we think it is. We're going out there and looking externally and saying, okay, I have to find all the answers. I got to watch the news. I got to watch what's going on TikTok. I got to be on social medias. I got to do all of these because I have to pay attention. That's the mind that's getting us crazy. And what we need to do is stop, quiet,
yeah,
and meditate and
Yep.
and find take that 18-inch drop from here to here in the heart.
Yeah.
Find that way to get here and stay here more often.
That's right.
Because as we stay here, it's like a flow in the river. The minute you get into that place, it's like everything kind of stops. It just starts coming together. It starts happening. And in the weirdest ways.
Well, the energy goes when attention goes. So when our attention is, oh my God, we're gonna die. Oh, we are in a scarcity.
We're gonna be broke.
That's exactly where it's unfolding.
So that's a good point. Energy goes where attention
goes. That's right.
So if your attention is focused on I'm broke, you're gonna be broke. I mean, because that's where your energy is going.
Focus should be on what we want, what
Right.
is right, not on what we are afraid that we might not get.
And that's that voice inside of you
That's
that
right.
is not here, but here
That's right.
in your heart. And it's saying, this is the dream that you have. This is what you want. It's this subtle voice that's saying, go do this. This is what you said you were going to do when you came here. That's your soul contract. Make it happen. And there's so many things sometimes that we think, oh, I don't know if I can make it happen. So let's look at, okay, so we've gone through a lot. we've gone through so many things today, so many concepts.
Oh, we will
But-
be coming back to those concepts
Well,
in more
Again,
depth.
in
Yeah.
the next couple,
Yeah.
next series, we've got a whole bunch of things that we're going to cover and a bunch of things that we're going to talk about.
That's right.
Now, let's talk about breath for a minute and leave with that today. Can you just explain, the cycle of breathing and what
Yeah.
that's all about?
Well, when I work with people and let's say somebody comes to see me, I don't recall seeing one client, and I have seen thousands, that actually I would right away know that they are breathing. So they are most even men. Men used to breathe deeper, but even men now using 1/3 of their lung capacity because we are in such a high stress places that the first thing that happens, we hold breath waiting. That's what it is, waiting for things rather than letting things be. So we are always in that anxiety place. We don't breathe. When we don't breathe, all these muscles get stiff. This muscle, they are major arteries flowing to your brain. So your brain is more in a panic mode, is less able to think clearly, to calm down. So, and also our vision worsens because they are also very important nerves under that trapezius there. So massaging with the 3 fingers and pushing actually
In here.
you see yours is very
Okay.
right there.
Okay.
And so you push and hold it for 3 seconds and then let go and then switch. You will notice that, well, it helps your trapezius relax, but also your vision improves. So when we are stressed, our vision worsens.
Well, good. I don't want to buy new glasses. I'm just going to keep doing this.
I know. Well, actually, I tell you, there is an Oxford Institute of Vision, and with a little nice booklet and a little strength of beats for exercising. It's 28 days process. Actually, I still have this printout there. From the time when I was wearing glasses, I could read the bottom line. It takes, exercise, physical exercise, it takes meditation, and it takes certain exercises of your eyes, massaging certain points, and reteaching your eyes and the muscles that move your eyeballs to start being sync. Because often we read like this or like this, and we are stressing those muscles and not this. One eye is more, so eyes start to be discoordinated, so they are not syncing. So when you start retraining your eyes for a focal point, you have that string, you attach it, and you actually start with 2 eyes going from one beat to another. When I started, the cross lines were all over, not even when the line was. Then you do one eye, the other eye. 28 days, every point was exactly what the beat was.
So can you give me that link and I'll drop that into the bottom of the YouTube for people that the training that you took so that.
Well, I did it at home. Anybody can do it at home.
Okay, so that would be perfect.
Yeah, and I put my book somewhere. I have to find it,
Okay.
But it's excellent, simple, excellent. But also that book explains that we don't see with this. This is secondary instrument. We see with consciousness. So how children that are blindfolded can read books, play, hockey or football or drive a bike. That's a very interesting story. There is actually institute in England, I believe, and you see blindfolded children reading, painting, and stuff. That's how we see. That's that knowing.
Isn't that funny? Hey, it's so deep and and we're just getting started. So this is so fascinating to me. So now let's take them through like how to breathe properly, really quickly. Just a real quick. Okay. So I'm not sure.
Try to sit aligned so your chakras are in a.
So you're sitting up straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for a beginning, it's good to put your hand gently on your
diaphragm.
Okay. And then you start inhaling. Inhale through your nose. Breath is meant to go through the nose. It's filtered, it's warmed up, and it's actually, there are 2 different energy passages. Each nostril is for a different left and right brain.
Okay, and we'll go through that in another session.
So and push your tummy and let the diaphragm go down. You might feel discomfort, and then try to exhale. You can exhale through your mouth or nose, either way, whatever. And so when you are inhaling, feel the energy pulled on the outside of your spine, lengthwise from the base of your skull to your coccyx.
And your back.
Yeah, and the back.
The bottom of your back.
And when you are exhaling, your pelvic floor tenses, your stomach pushes in, and the energy is pushed back on the inside of your spine to your pineal gland. And so you have actually a very free flow of spinal fluid or Christed oil, whatever it's called. I understand so many terms now. So basically, now there is a 0.1 hertz for in an exercise that helps your mind and heart become coherent. And it is, you inhale at 5 and exhale at 8. So exhale is longer and deeper.
So in your head,
yeah.
So let's get this straight. So in your head, you're counting to yourself. When you're breathing in, you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're exhaling either through your nose or your mouth. You're exhaling out and counting to 8.
That's right.
And then you just keep repeating this cycle round and round.
And like if you repeat this for like I would say 5 to 10 breaths every few hours, at the beginning, that's when you are teaching your body, then you will feel this tingling that is running here. And I cannot describe it, but it's phenomenal impression, feeling.
And for me, sometimes I'll get like the top of my head, the hair stands on end. Like we talked about hair in this role, and we will in another session talk about hair in its role. But funny thing is, when I'm breathing and doing my deep breathing and moving in, I get the whole tingling, and then my arms will stand, my hair will stand up on my arms, and all of that. You know, you're breathing right, and breathing. You know, like we're born taking our first breath.
Absolutely. Right? I always tell my clients, breath is a secret of life. Whether we are taking first one in or giving the last one out, it is the cycle. Birth and death are the cycle. It's not an ending. The energy is just changing its format. And that helped me all my life. I was never afraid of death. And that's how they control the societies, by fear. And fear translates to fictional events appearing real.
Right. And so we're not, and like we're talking about all kinds of really different things that, you know, most of us have never heard of in our whole life. Like, you know, I've taken a lot of training, and there's so many things to learn in this world. It's so fascinating. Once you get on this topic, it goes down so many rabbit holes.
And you get excited.
And you get excited about life.
That's right.
This is the piece that you get excited about life. So we taught you how to breathe. We taught you the difference between your mind and soul.
Another thing is that it's good to exercise daily. When you get up in the morning or during day, you are doing lifting and stuff. Stand in front of the mirror, have like just a t-shirt or nothing, and you look at your shoulders. If they are not
mine have always been kind of scooped.
One might be higher than the other. So most of the people do this. The one that is higher, they pull it down. That's wrong. Actually, your body is the best adjuster. So basically, the one that is higher, you bring it even higher, hold and let go. And you'll be surprised. 2 or 3 lifts and your shoulders will become.
And they're adjusted.
Yeah.
Oh, that's adjusted. That's a neat.
And that's a self. Yeah. Your body is the safest doctor to fix whatever is, because who knows or feels your body better than you?
Right.
Nobody.
Okay, so show them.
Yeah. So let's say this shoulder is higher, then you hold it up to your ear and then let it drop. You see?
Oh yeah. And how many times do you do that?
2, 3. Usually it's adjusted.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
cool.
it.
That's another tip. So you've learned so many tips today. What's the difference between your mind and your soul? The difference between your spirit and the four things, four directions, four winds,
For codes.
four
Codes,
thoughts,
yeah.
everything. Like we've talked about a lot of topics today and a lot of different things. Suspend your belief system, open your mind to different ways of looking at life. You don't have to take everything that we're saying and go do everything that we're saying. You don't even have to believe everything that we're saying. If there's anything that you can take that's going to be a tip for you or that's going to help, that's our purpose. That's why we're doing this series, is to get you to see the world in a really different way that's kind of exciting and fun. And now,
Well, just one
yes,
thing.
yeah.
Maybe because I am very engineering, I questioned everything. So for me, it was continuous showing me what is not explainable, and my mind tried to break it. And at some point, I had to say, no, there are things that
Are not explainable.
no,
No,
no.
and it's okay. We'll get into some of that too, in the next sessions. But so we're just beginning. And our next episode, we're going to dive into the inner dialogue. What you say to yourself, what does it look like inside? How do you handle that inner dialogue, which is the most important, because remember, we're born alone, we die alone in some ways, and we are with ourselves. We are the ones that are with ourselves all the time. And people come and go in our lives, but we are always with ourselves. So the next one is going to be about inner dialogue, how to distinguish the ego from the soul and the emotions and from the truth. And that's where we're going to look at.
And how to stop continuous of self-programming that we are
Right.
recycling.
So how do we stop this self-programming? This deception
that
we create for ourselves.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed this today. Thank you for listening. I'm going to drop in Ursula's book and where you can find that on Amazon. It's called Spirituality Not for Sale. And I'm also going to give you, eventually, we're going to set up a site where she's going to be, you can contact her, you can book an appointment with her, and you can see her. She does do them over Zoom and in person. So we'll talk to you soon, and we'll see you in the next session. Bye.
Bye.